Hello everyone, I am Tacet, and today I'm going to be going over the top 10 pets currently within Gems of War, as well as the best pet of every single specific color that you should be putting your colored pet food into. So, there are currently 36 available pets currently within the game. There will be a new one added about every single month. As far as the best 10 currently, this can be broken down basically into all of the Guild War ones, 2 supports, and 2 of the resources. So this comes down to Auraio, Crabbie, Fennekit, Griffling, Magmapillar, Mini Mimic, Moon, Minishroom, Pigeon, Rocki, and apparently that's all 10. So, why are all of these the best pets within the game? This goes to a couple different things. If we actually go over to our troop menu, that would be one of the easier ways to go and show this. So, basically, what a good majority of pets do is they give you some kind of bonus for using a specific team, for using the same types within the team, from using the same troops within a kingdom, or for using the same pure color. So, over here you can see, we are getting a Magmapillar bonus. This is because it is using 3 elementals, and if we were to put a 4th, it would get even higher bonus. And basically, every single one of these 10 just gives a bonus to something that is extremely important. In this case, the Magmapillar is giving us extra damage on the pretty standard Sunbird team. There are also a couple teams that end up running Infernus at this current moment in time that can also run triple or 4 times Elemental if it wanted to. Though this is one of the more noteworthy teams at the moment, mainly because it has really good board clear and is super effective against quick battles like challenges and explore. So this just makes it have even more damage, and just overall really good. The next 6 are all for all 6 of the Guild War days. These are particularly important because assuming you're later on in the game, you do want to be doing at least semi-decent in Guild Wars, and having something that will be able to boost your stats even further is really nice to have. As we can see here, we're getting a 2 additional attack from this little fox here, and if we just go under every single one, you can see we're getting 5 extra armor from this guy. If you just simply own him, it would just be double whatever the base value is, and of course every single time you get it up, leveled up, at least in this case, we'll end up getting a whole additional armor every single time. Not all of them end up gaining it every single level. If we go under the specific bonus, for example, like let's say the Fennekit, unfortunately this wouldn't actually end up getting a bonus until 2.5, because the bonus for having 4 of the specific color on your team is 2 attack of the red. This will only end up getting additional benefit once it reaches 2.5 times, in which case it would gain 1 whole additional attack. And other than that, let's go back to the, yellow. As you can see here, we end up getting the bonus of armor, so on and so forth. We also have the other one that's also occurring. Of course, divines are also quite popular right now, which is also why the Pigeon is very effective, and this team ends up utilizing both the 2 bonuses simultaneously to have even higher stats. For Brown Guild War Day, of course, just having the extra HP, very useful. And of course for purple, while this guy is not really good to level up because he doesn't get a whole extra stat until you just get it all the way to max, because it only has the +1 normally would be there, and then it goes up to a +2, so you would need to go all the way up to the 100% to be able to get that to be any more effective. And other than that, we of course have the green one, which ends up giving us our HP here. And there were 2 other ones that we didn't actually show here that are relevant. And that is the Mini Mimic and the Moon. The main reason for this is if we go under their upgrade page, as you can see, they actually have the biggest amount of effect from leveling them. Normally, a troop, if we go and go into a different one, there's any of them over here. If we go into like the Mini Mall, for example, and we go into this page, you can see that a good majority of them are 2 times 2.25, so on and so forth. Basically, only gains 1 times additional effectiveness or a 50% increase from what the base value is from simply having 1. What's kind of interesting about a Mini Mimic and a Moon is the fact that both of them have a 500% increase. It goes, or 400% depending on how you look at it. But basically, it goes from 1% all the way to 5%, meaning every single time you're getting much bigger of an increase compared to if you were upgrading something else, making them very effective to get up. And both of them end up increasing your resources and can save you quite a bit of time. In the case of a Moon, you will approximately need about 4 million souls throughout your farming within Gems of War. This takes approximately 200 hours, though it could be even quicker. But having a Moon that has a decent amount of percent could save you anywhere from around 4 hours all the way up to about 20 hours, depending on what your base percent is, as well as how far you've gotten him up. So it could definitely save you quite a bit of time when you look at it in the whole scheme of thing. Mimic tends to be just a little bit better in that regard, mainly because gold is always needed, where souls is not necessarily always needed. As far as the best pet of every single pure color to put all your food into. Of course, on any pet, you need to go and specifically use food on it to go and level them. Many of them are pretty useless to level. For example, this bunny we could go and level, but it's not really that worth it because all it's giving us is extra water mastery, and this isn't really that good. So we don't need to go and use that food on that. So, as far as the best one for each color, first one, Auraio. I always call it Auraio. I'm pretty sure I'm pronouncing that wrong. Main reason for this is there really isn't another green, so you might as well just put it into the Guild War one. It does do HP, so that's a pretty nice Guild War stat to have, just to make sure you do not die. Next one is the blue. Again, there isn't really another alternative, so you can just get the extra armor for blue Guild War Day. Still really, really nice to have, of course. Every single time on both of these, every single level you get, you're gaining one more armor, one more HP, and on the Crabbie, it is one more armor every single time. For the red, it is the Magmapillar, mainly because, of course, with the Sunbird, Rowan, Firebomb team, as well as if you use that in a 4 times, as well as a few other elemental combinations out there. Elemental is a pretty decent typing at the moment, mainly because of all the Infernus synergies and Sunbird synergies, making it a pretty nice color that can easily get 3 times or 4 times for the elemental bonus. So definitely really nice to have up, and will end up increasing the battle. A few damage might not seem like a lot, but in the case of Sunbird, when you're normally running in things like Explore, that few extra damage can make a pretty huge difference. Next one is the Peace Pigeon, mainly because Divines are so insanely good right now due to Divine Ishbala and Infernus combo. And of course, this doesn't really give too big of a benefit. It's mainly just armor and HP, but it is a quite a bit additional for each one. I believe it's 1 for every single level ends up getting, 1 armor and HP that is. So you can end up stacking quite a bit of additional stats on top of the bonus that you'd already naturally be gaining from using just a natural Divine team that would already be placed like that to begin with. The one really nice thing about Divines, as well as 4 times Dragon, if a Dragon version comes into the game, is you'd pretty much already build those teams. So now you're just getting additional bonuses for doing nothing different. Many of these you have to go out of your way for, but of course, many of those that we're mentioning, like Elementals, Divines, and eventually if a Dragon one ever comes into the game, those kind of pets will give, basically, they're just giving you extra stats on top of teams you would already be using, essentially. Same as all the Guild War ones. Is one of the other reasons why they're so useful, is you'd already be running these at minimum for Guild Wars, so you'd be able to get that additional benefit for that guarantee, and you wouldn't really need to go out of your way for that, because you're basically forced to have to use a pure team every single one of those instances. Other than that, for Brown, obviously Mimic. As far as any pet in the entire game, Mimic is the absolute most valuable to actually get up. Every single account in the game, regardless of how progressed you are through the game, will need gold. And yeah, he gives you a lot of gold. He has the biggest benefit from actually upgrading, as we went over earlier. Ends up gaining the biggest amount, same as Moon. And it's just overall, if you're going to bother spending gems on any pet, this is the one pet that may be worth it. For the most part, good majority of players shouldn't really consider spending gems on pets. It is quite expensive. There's really only 3 instances where you would actually go and do that, for example. So let's actually go show that real quick before we go over the last one. But if we go under the shop right here and go under to the shop, as you can see, it costs 175 to get 1 guarantee pet. There is a chance that you get the pet from the baskets, but this basically going up to 175 would only be used, let's say, if you see a pet that you really want that you have 0 copies of, and you have only like 5 minutes left, and you know for sure that you will not be able to go and get that pet in that time. Might be worth it to some people to go spend that 175 to go and get that. The next time, or the next instance where it may be worth considering doing the gems is if it's, let's say, something like a Mimic or something else that you just absolutely want the bonus for to be a little bit higher. You could go all the way and just get it to either Legendary or Mythic. Do keep in mind, getting something to Legendary from basically none costs approximately 1,500 gems, give or take about 500 depending on luck, because of course each basket could give you a pet, it could not. And it costs about 2,500 or so, give or take about 500 depending on luck, if you want to get it all the way to Mythic. Keep in mind that the difference between Legendary and Mythic for something like a Mimic and most of the other ones are only 1%, whereas the ones that have the bonuses, it's only 0.25%. So generally, you shouldn't really go any further than Legendary, as it is quite a bit of gems to put out for very, very little additional benefit. The only other time you would ever go and really maybe spend gems on a pet is, let's say, a new pet comes out that was just released. Obviously, you would have 0 copies of it, and it's a really good one that you want to go have the bonus for. For example, as I mentioned earlier, maybe the Dragon one. I believe it's a Wormling that's coming out eventually, and it's going to give a bonus to whenever you use 3 or 4 dragons on your team. Something like that, if you constantly use dragon teams, may be worth considering going all the way to upgrade it, or at least get it to Epic or Legendary or something like that, since you would automatically be using the bonus anyways if you're already running a team like that. So those are basically the only times you may consider using gems for them, though do keep in mind, for the most part, especially with all the gem related things that keep adding to the game as of recently, I would highly advise not really spending gems on pets. Maybe the only exception to that would be Mimic, and that is about it. In most other instances, I would say it is not worth going and spending gems on these. The main reason why it's worth it for a Mimic is you're basically getting a return on investment, since he is giving you a few % extra gold per battle, and if you play a lot of PvP, it will be worth it to some people. Anyways, I did need to go over one other one, which I kind of mentioned already, though didn't say specifically, but the other one for purple now is the Moon for the best one to go spend all of your food onto. Moon, of course, soul gain, pretty much the same thing as a mini Mimic. The only slight exception to this is you do eventually reach a point within the game where you don't really need any souls anymore, and this point is approximately at about 4 million souls. That's enough to fully level everything within the game, as well as get a Dawnbringer, as well as have a little bit left over for just random soul forge stuff. So at that point, you eventually reach a point where you don't need the souls anymore. As you can see, we're accumulating a bunch. If we disenchanted, I think we go up to like 4 million souls or something like that. So it's not going to constantly be giving you the value of something like a Mimic, where Mimic, because of guild tasks and other stuff like that, you're constantly dumping your gold, so you always have some kind of sink to infinitely put it into, whereas eventually you just kind of bottleneck yourself out and have way more than enough souls than you'll ever need as far as the Moon. And again, just as a quick recap, it's Auraio for green, Pinscher for blue, where'd it go? The Magmapillar for red, the Mini Mimic for brown, the Moon for purple, and the Fluffy Birdie, the Peace Pigeon for yellow. And that would be the best one from each of the colors to go put your pet food into. Anyways, guys, that's pretty much just my explanation on this. Have gone over a couple times in streams, but I just wanted to do a nice little independent video for it, just to kind of go and make it a little bit more coherent, just in a side little video, just for anyone who might want to reference it. And all this information will also be in the description if you just want a abridged list to go and peek at, and I'll try keeping it updated as well with some of the newer ones that come in. One other thing I should go mention right now, as it is one I don't own, though it is somewhat of an honorable mention if you do want to go and upgrade that, and that is a Whelp. Well, personally, to most late game players as well as mid game players, might not really be that useful, but it does give a bonus for Dragon's Claw. What's kind of unique about Kingdom bonuses, and specifically, is the fact that they work with 2 times, 3 times, and 4 times of that specific kingdom, which gives you the most amount of variety to really use. And since Dragon Soul and Dragotar and Dragonian Monk and so many other troops are pretty useful and are available from very early on in the game from this kingdom, it is pretty decent. This will also end up being applicable whenever Zacian one comes out, as well as other kingdoms that happen to get a lot of usage. And earlier on in the game, this would tend to be a slightly better pickup possibly than a Magmapillar, mainly because if you're planning on running 3 times, 4 times Dragon Claw with some kind of Dragon Soul, with just a bunch of the cheaper Dragon Claw troops, it could be better value to you overall. But anyways, that's everything with pets. If you still have any other questions, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching, and have a wonderful day.